Hello, hello, hello. I am your host, Rabbi Zevi Weinberg, author of KabbalahWisdom.org and over 40 books in Judaism, Jewish mysticism, which you can check out on meaningfulbooks.org. Okay, this is Truth Moment. So, many people, I remember being on a plane, and next to me was from South Africa. Not that it matters, but there was a black, you could see a business person, maybe he was in his 50s. He had life under his belt, knew what he was doing. And a younger guy, you could see sincere young African, and they were talking. So I happened to be in the aisle, and the guy was in the aisle next to me. And so, make a long story short, I overheard a little bit of the conversation. And one of the things the young man said is like, oh, how bad the world is. So this older guy, he said something really cute. He said, that's because you watch the Western media. He says, I watch the media of the entire world. And I got to tell you, in the West, it's always bad. In China, it's always good. In other words, the West has this obsession with kind of negativity. It's kind of, without going into some of the subconscious reasons why, but if you're a young person, you could think, oh, wow, we're living in the worst of times. We're actually living in the best of times. A friend of mine, Yossi Malinsky, a bright guy, he said, think about it. When in human history was there enough trust that I would open up my home and let strangers come into it? Well, maybe they need to pay me. It's called Airbnb. But the very fact that there are, at least 1 billion people willing to do that, another 1 billion people, or whatever the numbers would be, willing to say, okay, come in my car. I'll give you a ride. In other words, we're not afraid of getting killed. We're not afraid that you're going to steal all my stuff. We're living in very great times, times that countries allow people to come in between. Relatively speaking, there's never been more than 40 years in human history that there hasn't been a war between the world superpowers. Well, the last 80 years since, it's about 85 years now, since World War II, for about 80 years, there hasn't been a world war between the superpowers. We're living in historical times. But the key is this, that we are right before, as the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, the coming of the Mashiach. And all of evil is going to disappear. Hatred, arrogance for the sake of arrogance, all stupidity is going to disappear. Now, stupidity, everything negative actually has its own force. It's called a klippa, a negative entity. And so it's trying as hard as it can to get us into it. And that's why you've got to be very careful. As Menachem Mendel of Kutz said, what's the difference between a lover of truth and a hater of falsehood? A lover of truth finds the truth. A hater of falsehood finds falsehood. A lover of love finds love. A hater of hate. Don't get involved in any media that's taking you into negativity. Stay in the realm of positivity. That's the call of the hour.